What's going on? It's the Rap Nerd, and today is the 2-year anniversary of the live action version of Aquaman. And I just want to make a video just to really give my appreciation for this movie and tell y'all why I love it so much. Because sometimes I tell people and they kind of look at me like, you love Aquaman? Huh? So I just want to be able to break it down a little bit more so you can get into my mind and where I'm at. So first thing, this movie brings me back to a kid, right? Because it really reminds me of The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. Yeah, the one from the 90s. Like, it reminds me of both those movies in the sense of like the grand scale of things. Like, both movies take place in mad different areas. Aquaman goes from, the surface to the desert to underwater to another world underwater. Like, it's a lot of ground covered. And like The Mummy and Mummy Returns, it's literally a fun ride and a blast from start to finish. Like, this is one of the most fun movies I've watched in the past decade, literally, no lying. Don't get me wrong, that's not to say other ones aren't fun, but this one, from start to finish, even watching it now, it's just, I'm in there like popcorn, like, this is so good. As far as an action flick goes, man, like, this is literally one of the best and most fun action movies that I can think of. That's the first aspect. Two, I'm really a junkie for action. Like, that's my favorite genre. Well, action and horror, they're like literally right here. Both are my favorites. So I grew up watching all kind of action. Like, my favorite action star literally is Jackie Chan, and I've been watching him since the 90s. So seeing him really shapes the way I see action, choreography, fights, stunts, and all that kind of stuff. And Aquaman, to me, has the best action scenes in any comic book movie, for real, because it does a number of things. So you have the super powered aspect of it, like how Man of Steel was, how super flying and super strength and, power punches and hits. It has all of that, but it has other things too that Man of Steel doesn't have, which is the hand-to-hand combat. And to me, the hand-to-hand combat in this movie is fantastic. Oh my goodness. See, good action choreography is when the fighting tells a story in itself, and it also tells a story about the character that's fighting. Like, you can get a sense of how the character is by the way they fight. Like Queen Atlanta, you see the opening sequence, hell, the first 10 minutes of the movie, when she cleans house and just a one-take shot, you see her elegance and her warrior nature in that fight. Not to mention, it's shot beautifully. I mean, a one take that's spinning around the house slow, and you see everything. There's no cuts. And that's what I love about a lot of this movie. You see the action. You see the punch thrown, connecting, and a person falling. It's not a punch thrown, cuts to the fist, and then it cuts down to the fall. Like, you see everything in front of your face, and I love that. But you see the elegance in her. You see when Arthur fights on a submarine, how he's kind of just like a street brawler that does what he can with what's around him. Like, one of my favorite parts in that fight is when he picks the dude up on the shoulders and runs and hits him through the door. I ain't never seen nothing like that. Like, there's action sequences in choreography in this movie that, to me, are very unique. They are very specific to that character, because there are so many characters you see who fight, and it's just so it's wonderful. And as far as the action goes, there are literally like 6 or 7 action pieces, big set pieces in this movie, and that is bananas. Like, a lot of people don't like, the explosion happening before the, action sequence, but I love that, because for me personally, watching it, I was like, oh, some stuff's about to go down. When you see that explosion, you like, oh, here we go. And it would be a problem if the action sequences were mid or just like, but every single one of them was fire. Every single one. From, like I said, Atlanta cleaning house, the submarine, King Nefarious and Orm talking and attacking the submarine that they sent, to Black Manta in Italy, to the trench, to the underwater battle. Like, it's so many great action sequences. Every single one of them is great. And you do all of that to get to the third act, and you still make that whole third act epic like that. It's like Lord of the Rings meets Star Wars over the top action. A one-take shot of an underwater battle. That's crazy. And then you get to the final battle and you just flush it all away, and it's just mano-a-mano, one-on-one. Brilliant. That's how you do action sequences. You get a big scale, partially of the third act, but then when the two main characters come together, it's just them two set in a beautiful background. So the action in this movie is just fantastic. That's the other reason. The next for me is the comic book accuracy. Like, for them to make this movie and not stray away from the source material at all and bring it to life and make it work on screen and make it fire and epic. Dog, Aquaman rode a seahorse in his gold and green armor, and that was one of the most epic things ever. They made Aquaman fire. They made people take him serious. So I always see gripes like, oh, you know, it's a little bit too, you know, comic booky. They should have done it and they threw a lot at the wall. Well, I love that they did that, because I feel like Juan and crew were like, you know what? We don't know if we're gonna get a sequel, so we're gonna make the definitive Aquaman movie. We're gonna throw it all in there, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, at least we made the best Aquaman movie ever, and Lord have mercy, they did. They pulled it off. I mean, Manta's big helmet actually working and looking great on screen. On wearing the royal purple and silver on screen. People riding sharks. Ancient sea creatures. Mira with the emerald green suit and the red hair. Like, the comic accuracy doesn't even make sense, dog. Like, even showing the octopus play the drum slightly, like, they didn't stray away from it at all. And I will forever love this movie for that as well. So, moving on to this next thing that makes me really, really love it. You know, people always say, and I've seen these critiques, people saying like, oh, you know, the action was good, but the, you know, it was kind of goofy and, you know, a little bit cheesy in areas. But to that I say, it's not a problem, because you know what else has the same type of tone with the cheesiness and kind of goofiness to it? Anime. And for this example, I'm gonna use Dragon Ball Z for instance, because that's the one that I watch the most, and I have it in my memory bank, and it's the most reminiscent of Aquaman. Dragon Ball Z is type cheesy, dog. If you hear some of the stuff Goku says, Master Roshi, Bulma, Krillin, they say some pretty cheesy and corny stuff, bro. And Aquaman really captures that same tone. So next time you watch it and you see this movie, think about DBZ and think about the cheesiness. It's the same exact way. Because even though it has the cheesy tone, you know the action is going to be off the chain, and you know things are going to be serious when they need to be. Like, this is Aquaman, to me, is literally an anime movie brought to life. Like, there's no reason why we can't get a live action Dragon Ball Z or anything else just because of the way this movie handled it. Like, I was talking about the fighting, you know, earlier, hand-to-hand combat, but this movie also has the super powered aspect of it too, like DBZ. Like, the way they fly around underwater is the same way you would see them flying around in DBZ. The power punches, the power throws, mixed in with the, you know, dope choreography and weapons. This is literally a live action anime, and I can't get over that, dog. Like, I always thought Man of Steel was like the anime brought to life, which it is in this. It is, because, you know, I feel like the way they show Superman flying, we never saw nothing like that before. But with Aquaman, they took what Man of Steel did and also just like added to it to really make it like an anime movie. So it is what it is, right? And my last thing is, I love the choice of picking Jason Momoa personally, because he fits the character so well. Like, he makes everything about the character believable. I love that they picked the Polynesian dude to be Aquaman, because in my head, when they chose him as Aquaman, I was like, perfect. And he embodies Aquaman. Like, I just love that, you know, we have different representation for these characters, and that to me is a perfect one that makes sense. I know I said that was my last point, but the other point to this that I love about the film is it's the other side of the coin to Man of Steel, right? And people kind of like, what you mean by that? So a lot of people think the movie isn't serious, but Aquaman is serious. The only person that doesn't take anything serious is Arthur Curry. Everybody else in the movie is pretty serious. The world of Atlantis is serious. Orm is serious. Speaking of Orm, that dude is such a great villain. He speaks so poetically. Just, we're shackled by their archaic laws. Like, everything he says is just chef's kiss. But anyway, I say that to say Arthur, he doesn't take it serious. Look at Man of Steel. Clark takes it serious. They both have the same, they're both here, right? That they know they're gifted and they have powers. Clark wants to help people and thinks that he has to. Arthur, he just does it because no one else can, but he really could care less about being a hero. And you see that in Aquaman. And I feel like it's two sides of the same coin because they both are on the same journey, but they go about it differently. They end up both becoming the characters because they were forced to be. And they have to kind of understand and learn how to be a hero. So that's why, to me personally, they're kind of the same, you know, side of the coin. They're still learning as they go. They're facing people they've never faced before. They get their ass kicked to realize, I'm like, okay, I'm not really as strong as I thought I was. And I just, like I said, I love this movie, man. Like, I'm probably gonna watch it again later, even though I watched it before watching, you know, making this video. But Aquaman is literally one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. It's in my top 10 list. I can't wait for the second one because I always say this, and I'm glad that Warren actually said this at DC Fandom, that the second one is going to be more serious. And I knew it was going to happen. Again, like I said earlier, I think Juan took this film and said, you know what, I'm going to throw everything at the wall I can with Aquaman to make it stick if we don't get a sequel. I'm going to make it fun as possible, and I just want to make it work. And because they were able to do that, now they can open up so many different stories, because Aquaman has a rich mythological lore and a lot of great stories they can pull from. Like, I'm excited. Like, I'm thinking Aquaman 2 could be the story of the drowning, where Black Manta dismantles Atlantis from the inside, and he gets Arthur in trouble with the surface world, and they throw him in jail. And then I can see King of Ares coming through, and he wants to rule Atlantis, and he wants to take the surface, you know, world to war again, and get the Deep Six involved. Like, there's so much they could do with that one. And then the third movie could be the Dead King, and we all know what that one is. If you don't, the Dead King is something serious. They pretty much find a relic that brings the Dead King back to find Arthur in the seat, and he's pissed about it. And you know, imagine what could happen with that. I think that would be a great third movie in this franchise, you know. So anyway, Aquaman, I love it. What do you guys think of it? Let me know in the comments. Please be nice, okay? If you don't agree, it's fine, but you don't have to just go off on me, alright? But I hope I could bring some insight of why I love it, and maybe you might look at it a little different when you do watch it to understand where I'm coming from. Anyway, RapNerd is out. Have a safe Christmas, and keep your mask. Stay safe. Peace.